This is a monster from Elden Ring, and so is this, and that. Why am I showing you this? Well, I'm a bit of a gamer myself. I've put way too many hours into Elden Ring, and I'm totally not exaggerating here, but the experience has left me a little bit scarred. The amount of times I've lulled myself into a false sense of security only to get sniped across the map by these guys. Or I gotten absolutely jump scared by one of these guys dropping down on my ass out of nowhere. Simply put, and again, I'm totally not exaggerating, Elden Ring has kind of traumatized me. So I'm gonna try to cope the only way I know how, by drawing. I'm gonna be taking all of these bullies and turning them into cute girls. And our first victim is the white stuff shooting, conched-faced nightmare fuel that is the kindred of rot, also commonly referred to as pests. I feel like insects are always a safe choice for designing creepy enemies in video games. After all, a lot of the more common phobias are related to some kind of insect. In that sense, it's almost foolproof. When looking at these creatures, I mainly noticed the pointy and thin shape language. I would say their vibe is overall quite decrepit. Firstly, we have the limbs, and these creatures obviously have a lot of them. But they seem to only have 2 legs, while the rest of their limbs more closely resemble arms. And if you look closely, some of those arms are bigger than the others. They have 4 main arms that they seem to use to wield their weapons, while the rest of their arms are simply decoration. Because of this, I'll be giving our character 4 arms and omitting the rest of them, because I think they would clutter the design too much. I'll also be giving our character a literal conch as a hat, with some bone protrusions wrapping around her face, because I think that pointy head shape with the 2 sharp pincers is the most iconic part of the original creature's design. So that simply had to be there. I then gave her a dress that has a long back piece to mimic the tail, as well as some more bone protrusions wrapping around her waist, almost like a corset, to mimic that bony underside of the original creature. I also added some bracelets with bony spikes coming out of them to further accentuate that sharp design language, as well as some ripped pantyhose to really sell that decrepit vibe of the pests. For the colors, the original creatures are somewhat monochrome. They mainly have this light grey, almost white tone all over their body, with a few dirt brown spots scattered across their back. So I took some liberties here to spice up the color scheme a little bit. Still, I went with an overall theme of red and white, adding in some black for contrast around the areas that are meant to represent the back and the tail. That's it for the first one. Here's the result. Next up is the Minecraft Golem on crack, also known as the Furnace Golem. Admittedly, this one isn't all that scary to me. I just wanted to draw it because I think it's cool as hell. Look at him. He's a badass and he knows it. Anyways, when looking at the Furnace Golem, again, the first thing I notice is the shape language. He's obviously inspired by a brazier. A brazier? Is that how you pronounce it? Never mind that. Essentially, he's built like a cup with limbs. Overall, the Furnace Golem consists of a mixture of squares and circles, probably to emphasize its size and toughness, while also communicating that it might not necessarily be evil, and instead serves as a warning to its enemies. They also have noticeable spikes running down their body, usually connected to the steel bands holding them together. Of course, the stone mask on their center front has to be mentioned too. I started this drawing by getting the overall shape down, adding a bit of a taper to her shoes as well, to mimic the bulk around the Furnace Golem's feet. Then I decided to give her some loose flowy hair to resemble flames, putting the metal tendrils that would usually surround the flame at the tips of her hair. I also made sure to add many holes in the armor, as well as the metal braces keeping it all together. I also gave her a skirt to resemble the red fur on the thighs of the Furnace Golem. For the colors, I had to go with red, yellow and orange for the flame and skirt, with desaturated blues for the metal and other cloth. I just realized I missed a huge opportunity to put a stone fire giant's face on her hip, keeping her skirt together. Oh well, maybe next time. That's the Furnace Golem. Here's the result. Next up is Mr. Halloween himself, the Mad Pumpkinhead. These guys aren't particularly tough to beat, but the idea of a giant, nearly naked dude with a pumpkin glued to his neck running after you, swinging his huge ass hammer and smashing his golden egghead into the ground repeatedly in an attempt to crush you is terrifying to me. Like, the guy has to be blind, right? I don't see any holes for him to see through. So what, he just senses your presence? Bro is an anime protagonist? Anyways, the thing that stands out the most in their design is obviously their head. Other than that, they're a pretty standard humanoid creature. They use a big hammer, have a loincloth around their junk, and wear a cape. They also have chains and sometimes little wooden shin guards on their legs. All pretty standard stuff. The already humanoid shape leaves little to the imagination. So I basically just drew a female version of it and decided to cut a hole in the pumpkin, almost as if repeatedly smashing its head into the ground has finally cracked it open. I also put a hole in the back for a ponytail to flow out of. As for the colors, I kept them mostly muted to stay true to the original, with the gold as the main focus point and added some red to her hair. That's the Mad Pumpkin head. Here's the result. Next up, and I hate these guys the most, are the finger creepers. No, not that. These. These things are the absolute worst. Sure, fire trivializes any fight with them as they start to roll around in a panic trying to put out the flames. But seeing one of these bastards just chilling 10 meters high on a wall somewhere is just so eerie. They like to just sit there, waiting for you to come closer so they can drop down and scare you into cardiac arrest long enough for them to run up and grab you with their grubby fingers. They're also clearly modeled after spiders, and as someone with pretty bad arachnophobia, watching one of them run towards me will just about make me shut the game down faster than a fairy will howl upon seeing Blythe the half-wolf. For these things, I decided to take a little bit of inspiration from D&D's Driders, which, if you don't know D&D lore, are essentially humanoids with a spider bottom half. To keep with their theme of having more fingers than they need, I, well, gave every hand more fingers than she needs. I'm not sure if this would make holding stuff easier or harder, but either way it's fine. She can use magic, she doesn't need to be able to hold stuff, that's overrated. For her colors, I took notes from the Carrion royal family, giving her top a vague reminiscence of Renala's robes. I also made sure not to forget the rings and the colorful blue nails that the finger creepers like to wear. And that's the finger creepers. This is the result. Lastly, we have the spirit eel. But wait, these guys aren't enemies. They don't attack you unless you attack them first. And they don't look that scary either. Actually, they're kind of cute, right? Well, at least until they do this. I don't know if it's the arachnophobia again, but the idea of them vomiting stuff at me that resembles spider silk a lot is more than enough reason for me to never go near them again. Still, I will admit, when they're not provoked, they're absolutely adorable. I can see why they're a fan favorite. But while they're great, the biggest challenge with them is taking what is essentially a long tube with tiny arms, turning it into a human and still making it recognizable. So I decided the only way to properly convey these guys' personalities was to go all out on the expression, trying my best to convey that goofy, almost dead looking face they have. I also gave her a dress and added tassels at the bottom, chest and back to mimic those long hair-like strands they have coming out of them. For the colors of this one, and this might come as a surprise to you, but the spirit eels are kind of blue, you know. And thank God for that. Or should I say, thank Marika for that, because it does help sell the spirit look a little more clearly. Looking at this now, I kinda made this one more creepy somehow, didn't I? I think it's the expression. It looks cute on a spirit eel, but on a human, it's kind of scary. Look at those eyes. How ironic, this entire video I've been turning horrifying things into manageably cute, but for this one, I unintentionally did the opposite. Anyways, here's the result, and here are all of them side by side. I think my favorite of the bunch has to be the furnace golem. I really like how I ended up implementing all of the design language, and I think it reads as a furnace golem pretty distinctly. What do you think? Yes, you. Which one's your favorite? Leave a comment down below. I also gave all of these drawings a dark and a light background, slapped the English and Japanese names on them, and made smartphone wallpapers out of them. You can buy the full pack for less than €2 on my Ko-fi store if you have some disposable income and want to support me. Side note, I do have to mention I don't read or speak Japanese at all. I got the Japanese names from the fandom wiki, and I'm just assuming those would be correct, as they likely took it from the Japanese version, the original version of the game. So if any of you do speak Japanese and notice any errors, feel free to send a message or leave a comment and I'll change them. If you enjoyed my silly video, hit the like and subscribe buttons. And leave a comment with the name of a creature you'd like to see me draw if you want me to do a part 2. Seriously, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.